It's not often that we do issues about coaches turning into superintendents or coaches turning into interim superintendents, but this one would take the cake. Over 20 years ago, if you were in football, you would have met a great coach named Chris Steinbrook, who was the head football coach here in Fire Bluff. But great news is happening. He is now going to be interim superintendent while still coaching football. The big question is, how is he going to balance both coaching and being an interim superintendent? Remember, it's going to be for the remainder of the year, but he's still going to balance that. So, what's going to be the big deal when he's balancing this? Here's Bill Churchwell.
I move that the board accept the resignation and retirement of Superintendent Velma Solis Garcia, effective January 31st, 2024.
Superintendent Velma Solis Garcia stepping down, but she will continue to serve in an advisory role until then. Officials now turning to athletic director and head football coach Chris Steinbrook to serve as interim superintendent, effective immediately.
I'm so excited to work with each of you to move this district forward.
Hornet fans will recognize Steinbrook for his leadership on the football field, becoming the winningest coach in the district's football program. We are told he will continue to serve as the head coach for the remainder of the season.
I love our team, and I'm committed to finish what we started together. And what we do is a total team effort.
Those comments part of a scripted video released by the school district.
Coach Elwood will handle all the athletic director duties, and Coach McMahon and Mrs. Weaver and our entire staff are extraordinary people.
But the question remains, how much time will he devote to his interim superintendent role? And how much time will he actually devote to coaching? That part we're still unsure, but when it comes to qualifications, Steinbrook has been with the district for 22 years. He earned a Master's of Science in Education and is certified to be a school superintendent, according to his LinkedIn page.
We are thankful that you're willing to do this.
Thankful, but when it comes to transparency about their decision, school board members refuse to answer our questions. One of those leaders even abruptly ending the call when we asked. Meantime, Steinbrook laid out what he is looking forward to in his new role.
The opportunity to get to know more amazing people and that make this place so special. Building those relationships, learning and gaining everyone's feedback on how I can help make things better is extremely exciting.
Bill Churchwell, Free News.
Again, on all those unanswered questions. There's no common sense we put out here, but I'm really glad that she decided to step down, not because of allegations, but it's her choice. And it's the board's choice. But the tough question is, how can you balance both? I mean, how can you balance both a job and your hobby at the same time? Well, basically, if you have a full-time job, you don't have the balance. You can't find that balance to put in. And so what you have to realize here is okay, do I want to do this, continue this? And I mean, if you balance life, it's like this. You can still be who you want to be and still be with the person you love. That's the whole balance. But if you balance your job over your future, it's like, who's going to take over, your future or your job? I mean, if board members came forward and said, what's it going to take? How's it going to balance this? It's like, we can't answer that right now. I mean, why hang up the phone when all of a sudden, here's the question, why hang up the phone when a certain question is being asked? Because, because people have tough time finding the answers. It's like, or people say we just can't comment. Now, I'm not badging the board, I'm not badging the FBISD school board. I'm just stating facts here. Basically, if you balance both, let me tell you this: if you balance what you do, you can get good results. But being part of the district is being part of a family. Just remember this: there's no I in team. And if there were an I in team, depending on what country you're from. I mean, it's like football. Football is like a team sport. The school members are like football teams. except without the ball. But they're trying to reach a goal to be the best in education. That's the whole goal. So to keep reaching that goal, you got to go through some obstacles. So when you go through obstacles, it's like a video game. You beat a level, you beat the boss, you go on to the next level, or you go on to the next world. If you fail, it's all right. You can start over. So when you die at a video game, you can basically start over. But you can't basically turn back time. When that hourglass gets filled, so if that hourglass runs out of sand, you can't flip it over and start again. And take every breath God gives you for what it's worth. So it's basically best to find a balance between what you do and what the board wants you to do. But Coach, I expect it from you, and good luck. Good luck on that. Alright, this person at a school board meeting mauled out an inappropriate dress code that would stun even the Board of Education. We'll have that story when we return. Please stay with us. Can you ever imagine a worst case scenario? Somebody is spying on you from the top of a plane? I could never imagine happening that if a plane was... I can't imagine someone spying on me with a drone. You know, a little camera thing you catch your phone, it goes, bzzz, and then the camera's all like, what's going on? Hey, get that out of here. You can't be flying that out here. Get out of here. You're on private property. I can have you arrested. But can you ever imagine being spied on from a freaking airplane? It's exactly what happened. This 65-year-old pilot is accused of stalking a woman, and now he's back in court for what he did. Take a look.
Plane buzzes a house. The pilot is an alleged stalker from the air.
Yep, that's him.
And this is the woman he's accused of stalking.
He flew so low, it basically shook my house.
Restaurant owner Cassandra Willis says she's been tormented by the pilot for 4 years.
You would hear it, it sounded like he was coming through the roof. So he typically does 3 to 5 circles directly over my home.
He even allegedly bombed her house with small red objects. He even dropped tomatoes on your house?
He dropped them on my 4Runner, and it was like craters all within our yard.
The pilot, 65-year-old Michael Arnold, claims he was just taking photos from high above to post on social media. But Willis says that's nonsense. She's the target.
I knew that it was specifically targeted at me because at that time, he was already sending me aerial photos of my house, of my property, of my car.
The entire town of Schuylerville, New York is up in arms. The mayor shot this video.
I've gotten text messages and I've gotten calls from residents, and they just feel scared. The mental state of this guy is in question. No one knows whether or not he's going to crash into their home.
Arnold has been charged with aggravated stalking. He says he doesn't even know Cassandra. But when he was arrested, police say they found photos of her on his cell phone. That's got to be terrifying.
Yeah, terrifying would sum up and then some of what it is to know that you're being stalked pretty much every day.
From the air, no less.
Michael Arnold has been ordered to stay 300 feet away from Ms. Willis. He's also been banned from piloting any airplane. He's pled not guilty to all the charges.
Pleading not guilty, and guess what? He's now back in court.
The pilot accused of stalking a woman using an airplane was rearrested today.
Take a look.
We caught up with 65-year-old Michael Arnold as he showed up in court.
Why are you stalking that woman?
I was not stalking her. I was flying over town.
But you know her.
No. I don't know her at all. Never had any contact with her.
Restaurant owner Cassandra Willis says Arnold's been buzzing her house for 4 years from as low as 300 feet.
for a good 25 minutes, he would just stay above my house. It sounded as though he was going to come through the roof of my home. It would shake the entire roof, the windows.
He's even been accused of bombing the town of Schuylerville, New York with tomatoes.
Did you throw tomatoes?
No.
Why is she saying that you're stalking her?
Arnold claims that he was taking photos of the town for Facebook. $10,000 was added to Arnold's bond because he allegedly tried to contact Cassandra on social media using an alias. He was able to pay the additional bond and was released.
Literally, nothing stops him.
Within an hour, Cassandra says she spotted Arnold driving by her restaurant in a taxi.
I watch him and he just locked eyes and stared, and it's what he does every single time.
Okay, common sense alert. Common sense alert. If you have a restraining order, you are required to follow that restraining order. It's a piece of paper which states that you're to be ordered to be away from this person, like 300 feet or 100 feet. If you violate this restraining order, this person that filed the restraining order on you can call the police, and if that person shows that evidence to the officer, and they find out that he violated his restraining order, then you can be arrested for violating your restraining order. You can be arrested. Aggravated stalking is very serious in New York City. So when you're dealing with restraining orders don't even work. It's just a piece of paper. I mean, what are we gonna do? Put up an electric fence to say, "Hey, back up"? I mean, it's just a piece of paper which states you cannot be within a certain amount of feet. If you do, then you can be arrested for violating your restraining order. And I'm glad this woman pressed stalking charges, because it's been going on for 4 years, since 2019. And since 2019, he's been doing all this, and he's like saying, "Well, I just go on Facebook." Well, he just denies everything, like stalking her, throwing tomatoes from the plane, everything. He denies it. The mouth can lie, but the brain can't. The only people who tell you you're lying is if your lips are moving. That's when you tell people are lying. What can you do if you have a restraining order? Here's what you can do. Follow it. Follow it to the bone. Do not make contact with that person. No phone calls, no Facebook messages, no Instagram messages. Do not spy. No spying, no contacting. Do not walk, do not drive. Do not make eye contact, period. If you make eye contact with the person that filed a restraining order on you, again, you can be arrested for violating your restraining orders. I mean, this woman from Dr. Phil, she accused of being pregnant. She had 8 restraining orders, and she violated 8 times. They can be warned out for your arrest, and you can be sent to jail. Unless you sit there and say, "You know what? I'm going to step up to the plate. Enough's enough." That's what you can do. The bottom line here is this. If you have a restraining order, follow it. Follow it to the bone. Follow the leader. Follow the charts, and follow the restraining order. If the judge says, "I'm issuing a restraining order, you're not to move within this certain amount of feet," if you do, then you'll be arrested. That's the whole key here. I don't want to see. That's what I see. I see people violating restraining orders, but that's another video. You've seen issues on this broadcast. I've talked about dress codes violations, about all women saying that it's sexist and all. Up next, we're going to take it to a school board meeting in which a man demonstrates to the whole board and even the public audience about inappropriate garments being worn to school. Please stay with us. Take a look at this picture. is not something you want to see on a woman. But on a man, this happened at a school board meeting when this father strips. He strips at a board meeting right in front of board members and behind a studio audience. It happened in Arizona, where he wanted to model about what happened. What was the whole point? Well, one of the schools in Arizona is deciding to crack down on a dress code. Now, if you've been watching throughout the broadcast throughout the 7 years, we focused in on a bunch of dress codes, but without some common sense. But this picture could use some common sense after we watched the whole thing. But this is one of the first things I ever saw. In my 7 years doing this, this has to take the cake, the layer of the cake. We make that cake higher, we have to put like a lot of frosting and a lot of icing on it. Take a look at this video.
It's a striptease like no other. A dad taking it off in the middle of his local school board meeting. The board was debating whether to adopt a more lenient dress code policy.
I think Hooters has a more strict dress code policy than this one.
After a lot of back and forth, Ira Latham figured there was only one way to make his point.
Under the proposed policy, this would be appropriate in a classroom.
Next thing you know, he was coming out of his shorts and shirt, modeling a skimpy black top and Daisy Dukes.
Now, if you ask me, this is inappropriate for a board meeting. I went to the local thrift shop and picked up the clothes, and then the statement I made was simply, this is not appropriate for a classroom.
His dad bod display didn't have much of an impact. The board approved the new, more lax dress code, which he says amounts to this.
Kids, just keep your underwear covered and come to class.
Parents everywhere are expressing frustration, but nobody quite as expressively as this dad.
I think we can all use some common sense here for this clip. If you want to model that, model on freaking Facebook, on social media, do that. But don't be going in front of millions of people going around, I'm going to show you. And then all of a sudden, you got your crop top on, you got this on, and it's like, that's inappropriate. But it is inappropriate. And Arizona is trying to create a strict dress, well, not a strict dress code, but probably more lenient. But don't model it out. I mean, you only freaking model in front of all people. You may be embarrassed. And then you're going to embarrass yourself. And then you're going to walk out of the meeting going, what the fuck did I just do? I just did an inappropriate thing. Then your next step would be to go in there, go to the superintendent and say, hey, I am sorry that I did that. I did this. I'm sorry that I modeled it out for you. I'm sorry that was inappropriate, and it won't happen again. They ban you from school property? Okay. They don't? Okay. This, 3 weeks ago, this 17-year-old was suspended from school because of a hairstyle.
High school student has been suspended.
This happened 3 weeks ago. This happened just about 3 weeks ago. This person was suspended because of a hairstyle. If this was a dress code cake, the layers would be on top. I mean, the bottom layer you have strict dress codes. The first layer you had strict dress codes. Second layer you have non-strict dress codes. Third layer you have females that accuse schools of having women being sexist. And then we put the icing on top, and then we have a big cake. But that's the kind of cake I would not eat. Why? Because if you eat that cake, basically if you eat each layer of cake, that layer that you eat, you're going to repeat the same thing that they're doing. Equal rules for all needs to be put in place. If you just create dress codes for women saying, oh, women can't wear this, women can't wear that, it has to be applied to all the males. Like if women can't wear this, and all the males can't wear that. And we men can't wear that. Everyone's in the same boat. I mean, every school are very strict about it when it comes to females. It's sexist, and I have to agree with some women. But hairstyles? Let's take a look at this.
A Texas high school student has been suspended because of his hair. His mother and other supporters say this is wrong. 17-year-old Daryl George is a junior at Barbers Hill High School. His chosen hairstyle is locks that he keeps tied up and off his face and neck. He was suspended from school on August 31st for a hairstyle that the school district says violates the district's dress code. Daryl's mother says this is the reason she was given.
They said that when let down, his hair is below his eyebrows, which they never seen his hair let down because, as you can see from pictures, from all the pictures, his hair is always up.
The suspension came the same week Texas passed the Crown Act, an acronym for Create a Respectful and Open World for Natural Hair. The law prohibits discrimination based on hair texture or hairstyle if that style or texture is commonly associated with a particular race or national origin. So far, 24 American states have passed the Crown Act. Nationally, the law passed in the House in 2022.
The Creating a Respectful and Open World for Natural Hair Act is passed,
but failed to get the necessary votes in the Senate. According to the student handbook, Barbers Hill Independent School District prohibits male students from having hair extending below the eyebrows, earlobes, or top of the t-shirt collar. The school will not comment on an individual student's case. Daryl is in an in-school suspension where he reports to school but is not allowed to attend classes with other students. His mother has retained an attorney and says her son will not be forced to cut his locks.
We're going to fight this fight.
For Inside Edition Digital, I'm TC Newman.
So basically, they probably violated the law. I mean, when a law gets put into place, you have to follow it. It's school. I mean, let me tell you something. In Texas, there is an education code that all school districts have to follow and enforce. And the school districts don't. I mean, they just don't. They just don't have to follow the education code. They also have to follow the penal code as well. So you have education code and the penal code. If schools do not follow their education codes and the penal codes, then the school could probably lose funding, and board members and districts can be sued for what they happen. So in this case right here, this is what happened. I think what may happen here is that they may have. I mean, she may have gotten a good lawsuit because of what happened. The school may sit there and say, "Well, we didn't know about this law being passed until this and this." So what's the bottom line here? The bottom line here is this. If there's a new law being passed, you have to immediately follow it. Not the day after, not 2 days before, the day of. The day of. Meaning the day of, the day on that law. There's no arguing about this here. It's just complete crap. I mean, since the Crown Act was passed in Texas, this is definitely a lawsuit involving a fellow judge in Texas. Agreed. This is a lawsuit. Another example is schools throwing temper tantrums about rules that don't do anything but help. But then they still ignore serious things like bullying. Shame on this school. He's not even in violation of the stupid rules because his hair doesn't hang down. Revoke his suspension and get him his education. That's the stupidest suspended hair code I ever hear. I feel so bad for him. The family deserves a lot better. Why is this an issue? School needs to worry about educating kids. The educators are concerned to how the kids look. School dress code should not affect a person outside school. If dress code says don't wear shorts, you can go home and put on shorts. But if it says you can't have long hair, you can't go home and put on long hair. The whole reason why schools have dress codes put in place in their handbooks is because to prevent distraction to the educational environment or the learning process. So That's why hats are prohibited, because it's a distraction. Sunglasses, they're a distraction. Tattoos, piercings, they're a distraction to the educational process. And if schools would implement uniform dress codes, it'd be a thing to where everyone would wear the same thing. When I was in school, actually it all started for me in elementary school. We haven't had to wear a polo shirt or a Flower Bluff t-shirt. If we wore something that wasn't a Flower Bluff t-shirt, we were dress coded. 7th grade, back in August, first day of school, I was wearing side pockets. Mr. Copeland, the 7th grade principal, told me that side pockets are not allowed. And I'm like, that's harsh. 8th grade, I found out that side pockets are allowed. This is why I hate rules. Because if it didn't make sense, I'm to adhere by it, I would be incredibly frustrated. If the school is called barbers, any hairstyle can be accepted. Dear Lord, it's not the kid get a freaking education. His hair doesn't matter. I mean, think about it. Think about wearing sweatpants. This guy from the pencil. Let me show you a clip. From Millers Point High School. This is a clip that probably deserves a lot of attention. Take a look.
Millers Point High School, we have a very strict dress code policy. You cannot wear sweatpants to school. You know, it is against school policy, against the dress code for you to wear sweatpants to school.
I turned on the weather channel and it said 35 degrees outside. So I was like, no, I gotta wear sweatpants today.
It doesn't matter if it's cold or not. Don't wear sweatpants.
But I can't get my education without sweatpants on. You know, the brain don't function right. You know, if you're not, you know, it's like, if it's hot and you too cold, you know, you too hot and it doesn't work. You know, you start thinking about, dang, I'm hot. But this is the opposite this time. I'm cold and it doesn't work because I'm shivering.
Well, bottom line is, we got to stop this, okay? So now, you're going to be in my on-campus suspension room for 1 day.
On-campus suspension for sweatpants?
Absolutely. And I will be calling Mom. We'll talk to her about the rule.
No. Don't call Mom. Coach call in the house? No, don't call Mom. You know, that's not good. Mom don't. Can I just tell her about the rule?
No, absolutely not. What you need to do is go down to the on-campus suspension room, and I'll be calling your mother. Thank you for coming in. Get yourself correct, okay? Thank you, Jerome.
I can't believe I'm getting in trouble over sweatpants. Sweatpants, all the other things that go around in the school, I'm getting in trouble over sweatpants.
And that's what you're probably getting in trouble for, wearing sweatpants. And the comments on the video saying, at my school, the only dress code rules are undergarments must be covered. Bra straps are okay, though. Your bottom must be fully covered, and no midriff should be showing. But this rule is commonly overlooked. We get our education just fine with that ridiculous dress code. I mean, I could just be like I could just be like this. I'm like sagging all my pants, man, because it looks cool. See, that's me. I look cool. Just be like, I look disgusting sagging. Sagging is a turn to where you pull down your pants so you can show your ass. That's what I hate. I just hate when people just pull down their pants that people can just show their asses. It's like, give me a break. We don't want to see your ass. That's why it's a distraction. That's why it's put in place. Hats were put in place back in the late 90s because of increased violence. 98, 99. Hoods were at the time because they would hide drugs in there. And when it went through the process, no hats, no hoods to cover the face, had to be enforced. On the student side of this one, I agree with this guy. Most of the time, the only reason teachers get upset over crap like this because they have nothing better to do. Rules dumb, but the excuse is one that had me laughing. Kid brings his horse to school, no punishment. Kid wears his spurs to school, a lunch detention. Kids wear sweatpants into school, suspension. Suspended for sweatpants? That's going to be a school's record because of sweatpants. WTF. I swear, if you're a junk, you always catch me slipping on national TV. It's the only reason why I behave in public. Can I see student handbook for this school? I want to laugh at all the stupid rules. I'm on a long sleeve shirt. Okay, that's just enough comments here, but it's common sense that tells you that the school tells you do not wear sweatpants. Don't wear sweatpants. That's the whole dress code. No piercings, no nothing. Either in your mouth or in your ear. Cannot have that happen because all of it's a distraction to the educational process. And we've talked about disruptions in our classes a bunch of times. But hair locks, I mean, that's not a distraction. If the school violated the law, then you have a right to sue them. But I hope that the lawsuit for the kid who was dress coded for hair, sues. I hope the parents sue. But let's not get ahead of ourselves. But if it happens, it happens. Coming up, updates from Oxford and employees disrespecting their managers or supervisors. Stay with us. In almost a month now, we're going to be reaching the 2-year anniversary of the Oxford High School shooting where Ethan Crumbley shot up over 2 teachers and over 2 students. More updates on the case now from AP News. The parents of the Michigan school shooter asked to leave jail to attend the son's sentencing. According to the AP News, the parents of the teenager who killed 4 students at Michigan's Oxford High are seeking permission to attend his sentencing while they also face charges of the attack. Ethan Crumbley said he could be sentenced to life in prison on December 8th. James and Jennifer Crumbley, who are charged with involuntary manslaughter, have had no contact with their son for nearly 2 years, although 3 are being held at the suburban Detroit jail. Prosecutors are opposed to having the Crumbley parents in court, saying their presence would be a distraction, especially for the victims who plan to speak at the sentencing. The Crumbleys instead could be allowed to watch the hearing online in jail, according to the assistant prosecutor Matt Keast. The parents have been in custody since shortly after the November 2021 shooting. Unable to afford a $500,000 bond, they are accused of contributing to tragedy by making a gun accessible to their son at home and ignoring the mental needs. The trial of the parents begins on January 23rd of next year. Now, I mean, if my parents were accused of doing the same of involuntary manslaughter, if I was the person who shot up a school, then here's what happened to me. I would allow my mom to. I would ask my mom to just friggin' join in. I wouldn't say no. They wouldn't say no. I mean, she has full ownership of me, so and so. That's awesome. Now the Oxford Senate is leaning to the district on school security. But is it going to be enough? But if it's going to be enough, what about all the money being spent? I mean, look, we're about to go into 2 years since this incident. And when we hear more about school shootings, a lot more happens. You know what? I think it's time, you know what? We focused in on a bunch of school threats. After the school shooting, we focused in on a lot of school threats. But there has been more of these school threats. The FBI has been telling people, do not be doing this. Police chiefs are sitting there saying, don't be doing it. Going on social media saying, hey, don't be doing this, otherwise you'll go to jail. Nobody listens to the police, the parents. The parents don't do anything. They don't monitor what the kids post on social media. I mean, 4 days ago, this juvenile was charged with making a threat. Watch.
Now to another big story here on the Triad. An arrest is made after 4 online threats were made against a Triad high school.
Authorities charged a 14-year-old student with making at least one of those threats. The latest threat sent Lexington Senior High School students home at 9:30 this morning. WFNY News 2's Amber Lake joins us live in Lexington with the latest.
Guys, school officials and law enforcement tell us that the 14-year-old charged in making one of those threats is actually a student here at Lexington Senior High School. Police say the 14-year-old is being charged with communicating a threat of mass violence on an educational property. Lexington police say over the last week, 4 different threats have been made against Lexington Senior. One on October 3rd, which resulted in an early dismissal of students. Another on October 4th, which did not result in an early dismissal. The third threat was made later on October 4th. That ended up delaying the start of school last Thursday. And the fourth threat was made today, sending students home just after 9 this morning. The Lexington Middle School close by also went under secure status, meaning no one was allowed in or out of the building while the situation at the high school was being handled. Threats against schools disrupts learning. It forces district leaders to make the tough decisions to release early. It also impacts law enforcement.
It takes more resources, but that's because it should, because it's a priority. Safety in our schools is a priority. So yes, it does pull from some of our services. But we talk about risk assessment. We talk about, that those are tough decisions that's made for the schools.
So we're working closely at the central service level to work with the staff and Principal Porter at how we're going to address that. There are definitely some options, so give us an opportunity to make sure that we think through those options and make sure our community and our board have an opportunity to consider all those options for the learning loss.
The school district says that in-person learning is a priority for the school district, so they'll be having some discussions over the next little bit to figure out what they want to do moving forward. Investigators also added that they need help from the public, from students, from staff members to try to find the other people who made those threats last week. Live in Lexington, Amber Lake, WFNY News 2.
I bet they didn't listen to the police chief. Every time somebody makes a school threat, you're wasting education. You're disrupting the educational process by sitting there saying, oh, I'm going to go shoot up my school because I hate my school. That's a threat. That's what the FBI and the police and the parents are not doing. Look, let me say this. The parents, the key here is the parents. The parents are not doing anything but allowing this to happen. They're not saying to little Timmy or little Carson or little Jimmy here, hey, you better not be making those threats. You better not be threatening to shoot up the school, because if you do, you can go to jail, buddy. What we need is to scare kids, not just kids, teenagers. How do we do that? We throw them in juvie. We have a scared straight program. We'll throw them in a scared straight program, and that will teach them. That will teach them. Therefore, once that happens, they can understand and say, oh, I better not do that again. Otherwise, this is where it can end up. Talk shows have done the same thing. Have done boot camp for little kids, throw them in jail, throw teens in jail to send them the message saying, hey, if I keep on doing this, this is what's going to happen to me. They don't have moral compass in their brains. These mean they just hear from their friends and go, I don't want to go to school. We have a test today. What do I do? Your friends in the back going, why don't you make a threat? Why don't you make a bomb threat? And all of a sudden, you make a bomb threat, it happens, and they search the school, the police gets involved, evacuation happens, you're on a lockdown, and then all of a sudden, if they find out it was you who did it, then you have two choices. You just lie and get your way out of it, and you could say, someone told me to do it. Who? Well, Jimmy. Jimmy comes in and is like, Jimmy, did you tell Mr. Kerman you're here to make a threat? And you said, he may say, yes, I did. And then he would accept his punishment by going to jail. Don Tracy's case. Years ago, there was a threat that happened in his school, and he was accused of making a threat. But he found the person that made the threat. He says the police went to his house. But did he get arrested or sent to juvie? We don't know. But this is what I'm telling you, parents out there. You need to monitor what your kids are posting on social media. You need to talk to your kids that this is dangerous. And you need to be full support of the school and your community and what they're doing. If it means you're wasting more money for all these things, that's the choice you have to make. But no one will ever know because no one will care. So it's like making a choice. All right. Can a police officer destroy your property? What if you tell them, can you pay for my property? Well, John Stossel asks, to protect or destroy. Stay with us. Here's a question for you. You're sitting at home, and then you're sitting at home watching TV or playing video games. Then all of a sudden, you leave the door unlocked. Somebody comes in, running around your house, around your property, and they actually lock your door. And the police comes in and decides to break down the door, which is your property. And they run all around trying to find and destroy your property. Now, what if you were to sue the police for basically destroying your property? What happens when police destroy your property? Can you sue them or can you just ignore it? Here's John Stossel.
They told my son that they just needed to poke some holes in the house.
Those so-called holes made the home uninhabitable.
The house was so badly damaged, it had to be demolished.
At least insurance covers this, no?
The insurance company said it was an act of the government, that they would not pay for it.
So will government pay?
The city of McKinney refused to pay.
This keeps happening.
Breaking news in North Hollywood, where police are dealing with a barricade situation of an armed suspect.
Carlos Pena used to run this little print shop in Los Angeles.
I was doing good.
But that changed when
a man running from police suddenly barricaded himself inside of Pena's no-hope printing and graphics shop.
I see a guy rushing at me.
Pena didn't know the man who knocked him to the ground outside his shop. And then
I saw the SWAT team showing up, and that's where everything started.
Pena watched as the police launched tear gas. Lots of it.
31 or 32 rounds of tear gas. And then I started thinking, what's gonna happen?
After a long standoff, the SWAT team broke in only to discover that the suspect had already escaped. Pena was finally allowed to return to his shop.
The first thing I said, why didn't this guy just shoot me? Because all the work of my life, it just got ruined.
The SWAT team smashed doors, made a giant hole in the ceiling, and most damaging, shot in so much tear gas that they wrecked all his equipment. Of course, Pena assumed they'd reimburse him. The marshals gave you a form to fill out about the damages.
I got a little happy because I thought I was going to be reimbursed. I itemized everything that was damaged.
But the marshals found a reason to reject that.
I didn't sum it up. I only said that it was about 62 to 63,000. Probably they didn't have a calculator at the time.
So you added them.
Then a couple months later, I got another letter of denial.
This time the marshals said, "We're not responsible. Pursue your claim with the police department." So you go to the city then says, the claim is to be denied.
And I said, why? And she said, because the SWAT team isn't new. They can cause any damage to your property and they'll have to pay for it. I said, but this is not my fault. You're making me feel it is my freaking fault and I didn't do anything.
Pena thought he'd finally get paid when someone from the mayor's office called.
The new mayor of Los Angeles, her assistant called me, said, you know what, the mayor is very interested. and helping me.
But half a year later, the mayor still hasn't done anything. Penna tried the city council.
They just gave me numbers to call. And when you call, they referred me to somebody else. It's unbearable.
It is. The city destroys your business and then ignores you. We asked city officials to comment. They would not.
When police destroy innocent people's property, even to get a dangerous criminal off the street, they have to pay for the damage that they did.
Lawyer Jeffrey Redfern of the Institute for Justice took Penna's case for free because he thinks what happened to Penna is unconstitutional. But police sometimes do need to wreck a house to get the bad guy.
Absolutely. We're not suggesting the police did anything wrong here, but this is damage that was done for a public purpose, and if the city's paying for this, the city can decide what kind of policies it wants to adopt.
Maybe they shoot in less tear gas.
When they get to offload these costs to random unlucky individuals, they don't have to do that kind of cost-benefit analysis.
You have lost in one case.
There was a case where a shoplifter barricaded himself inside a home, and the police ended up destroying the house.
The homeowner calls it an abomination.
Somebody needs to fess up to the fact that you have destroyed somebody's lives here?
The city did not compensate the owner at all.
The judge says this is police power, which would give officers a right to use private property without compensation.
It's absolutely crazy. What the court said was because law enforcement is doing this for the public good, it wouldn't be fair to force them to compensate people. But that's the entire point of the takings clause.
The Constitution says government can't just take or destroy private property without just compensation.
If the government takes your house to build a road or a school, you get compensation because it's not fair for you to bear that burden alone.
Carlos Penna now works out of his garage, and he's lost most of his business. His wife had retired, but after the raid, she went back to work cleaning houses, trying to make ends meet.
It sickens me that to know that this can happen to you when you're doing everything right.
The Institute for Justice says it'll sue on behalf of people like Penna until police and city politicians acknowledge that they have to pay for what they break.
We want to make it clear so city governments know when police destroy innocent people's property, they have to pay for the damage that they did.
If you want...
Agreed. The cities need to pay for the damages. That's vandalism. And the city's like, nope. Police are responsible. I support local law enforcement, but SWAT team, what they need to do is to just get up and just pay and say, hey, we're sorry we destroyed your property. Here's the money. I think in Pena's case, he has a good lawsuit being put in place. That's a good lawsuit. Guy crashed here. Congratulations. If you're pregnant, then there's a law being put in place. It's called the Pregnant Workers Fairness Act. Is it going to hurt women or help? Is it going to help all the pregnant women? Right?
Is it great?
Is it going to help or hurt? Here again, John Stossel.
Are you pregnant? There's a great new law meant for you.
Could become a real game changer for pregnant employees. It's called the Pregnant Workers Fairness Act.
America needs this, we're told, because employers abuse pregnant workers.
She wound up in the ER after fainting and collapsing on the retail floor.
It's a tough pill to swallow, you know?
That's why government must protect women.
Because, you know, that's your income.
The Pregnant Workers Fairness Act sounds right and fair.
Sounds like a great thing on the surface.
Vanessa Brown Calder's director of family policy at the Cato Institute. She's pregnant. The Fairness Act is meant to help people like her.
I'm somebody who is probably more worried than your average person.
Some of the listed accommodations include more time to use the bathroom and rest, flexible hours, and closer parking spots.
I get to park underneath with all the executives and it's awesome.
It's just decent if you're pregnant. You're pregnant. Don't you want that?
Well, you would think that I would be the one that would want this most of all.
But Calder understands that this new law may lead to fewer women being hired in the first place.
These policies, they are motivated by good intentions. But that doesn't mean that the consequences of these policies will turn out well.
No, it doesn't. Remember the Americans with Disabilities Act? Both Democrats and Republicans applauded when President George Bush signed it. But the result of the act? After the ADA passed, fewer disabled people were working.
That's right. The ADA actually had a negative impact on disabled workers' employment.
Here it is. More disabled people were getting jobs year after year. But once the ADA passed, employment of disabled workers actually dropped. It happened because the ADA makes hiring disabled workers risky. The Pregnancy Act makes hiring women risky. Because you may be a lawsuit bomb.
But it does make women more risky and more costly to hire. Employers don't know exactly what accommodation the woman might ask for.
And once she's hired, it's dangerous to fire her. She might sue. It's safer for an employer to say, I'm just not going to hire you. That's illegal too, but there's no way for the government to know why I didn't hire.
Companies get good at working their way around these regulations.
But gullible people assume laws will do just what proponents say they'll do.
Pregnant workers now have more protections than ever before.
This is really good news. And government officials think what counts is pleasing special interest groups.
This new law has wide support from businesses, faith, health, women's, and civil rights organizations.
Activists think of the short-term effects of the law, and so it's pretty easy to get behind a superficial reading of the Pregnant Workers Fairness Act and think that it could be a good idea.
The momentum is always for more rules.
And with legislation, oftentimes there's guidance that's issued many years after the fact. So I think this is probably just the beginning.
The growing number of rules kills jobs in several ways. Since the Pregnancy Act applies to companies with 15 or more employees. This is an incentive for me, if I have a company, to stay small. If I have 14 employees, I'm taking a risk to hire a 15th.
So actually you kind of get penalized as you grow.
Without a law like this, who would hire someone like you? Might have more medical problems and you're going to leave, at least for weeks.
Pregnant workers bring a lot to the table, and I think that many employers see that. But actually, when you create a one-size-fits-all policy like this, it starts to raise many employers' concerns.
The Cato Institute should have the right to fire you because you got pregnant?
I think that they should. And part of the reason for that is because I want people like me to be able to be hired in the first place.
Exactly. I'm a stutterer. Today, we stutterers are protected by the ADA. I'm sure glad the law didn't exist when I applied for my first jobs. My employers wouldn't have risked hiring me. I would have never gotten a chance. Now, the Pregnancy Act will kill opportunities for women. But the politicians and the media never learn.
And nobody ever learns with some common sense. We'll bring it back. There's a car in the kitchen. There's a car in the living room. There's a bus in the bathroom. There's a cow outside. There's a cow on the roof of the car. There's a cow in the pool. Why in the heck is there a cow in the freaking pool? What's you gonna do? What's you gonna take a bath? Be like a doggo. How about 3 things you did not know about cows?
You didn't know about cows. Cows like to play. When they feel very happy, many cows will forget how big and heavy they are, and will start to run, jump, and even play with the ball. Cows can swim. Cows may not seem like they are skilled at swimming, but they can actually swim quite well when they need to. Cows are extremely social beings who don't like to be alone. When a loved one is dying, They gather around them to comfort and warm. 3 things you didn't know about cows. Cows like to play.
How about this one with over 115 views? This cow gets chased by 2 dogs, which ends up in a freaking swimming pool.
I thought y'all want to see this video my niece sent me. I'm just gonna do this real quick. Show it to you. What we got here? We got 2 dogs chasing a cow out somebody's backyard. What in the world?
Get out of my backyard.
Oh, dog bites cow. Oh, cow is in the pool. Oh my goodness, dog is going in the pool after the cow. Oh my goodness, they are in the deep end. They are in the deep end. Oh, dog is biting cow. Cow puts him under the water, dumps it. Oh, he can't get out. He can't get out. They both stuck in the pool, in the deep end, over the head. What in the world? What's this in the background? Oh my goodness, we got a cowboy coming in. We got a cowboy coming in. Oh, he's got a lasso. Oh my goodness, no. 2 cowboys. Oh my goodness, cow trying to get out. He's in the shallow end. Lasso. Oh, he's doing the lasso thing. Oh my goodness, he got the cow with the lasso. Right, I thought y'all want to see this video my niece sent me.
There's a cow, and that's what happens when you put a cow in the pool. This one 3 years ago. This is a Full House episode where there was a cow in the pool. A cow wouldn't go swimming with the pool. Dogs caught him and the cowboys helped. Well, that's the reason why cows swim. That's the reason why cows swim and shouldn't be on private property swimming. That's Give Me a Break for this Friday going to Saturday. We'll see you again for Give Me a Break Saturday night. For all of us here at YouTube at Give Me a Break, don't have a cow, don't have a car in the kitchen, a bus in the bathroom, a cow outside. Have a good night.